Hey friends, welcome to this video. Now I was asked whether it's possible to have a dynamic dates table, because the dates table I provided for the lecture so far, which is created in M, was not really dynamic in a way that we have to specify the years upfront. And of course we were able to adjust this. So for instance, if the table originally ended in 2023, we just had to open Powerquery editor again and then change it, for instance, to 2024. That was possible, of course, but it would be a manual step. And to avoid this, I now have here in this video two adjusted options for you, which allows you to create dynamic date tables. Meaning dynamic in a way that we can specify that either the end date is dynamic, for instance, it's always today's date, or it's always the end of today's year. That could be an option. Or we just specify that it's dynamic in a way that it covers all the dates which are actually in our facts table. These are the options we have. And the options include either we do it in Powerquery, so using M code, or we do it in DAX. And I'm going to show you both options. Okay, so let's get started. Now, first, as you can see here, I have loaded data, which is here the orders table in this case, and it's just here some sample data, which has in this case also a column, which is here the order state, which covers a time frame from, in this case, 2021 up to, I think it's 2023 in total. So for that, okay, this what we already have. And now let's get started with doing it in M. So for that, I go to transform data, click on this option here, and then it just opens it. And here's the editor. And now I can just here create, in this case, a new source. And you're already familiar with that. I can simply create a blank query just to paste my M code in here. Then I just go to the advanced editor here, and I just remove everything which is inside. So I have a complete empty space in here, and then I can just copy paste my new adjusted M script, which I also provide, of course, in the resource section, so you can use it if you want to. So let me just open it here, just a second, there it is, and then let me just copy it. So really just Control C to copy it, then you go in here in the editor, and you paste it, Control V to paste it, and you can see that there are no syntax errors. That should be the case. And as soon as we have this, we need to just click on Done, and then we have our dates table, as you can see here, which is date, year, start of year, and so on. Now let's have a closer look. If I go to the advanced editor here inside, and you can see that today, in this case, is date.from, datetime.localNow. So it covers today, and then we have a start year, which currently is 2015. This is something you can set. You can just for instance, if we make it smaller, let's say it's 2021. So that's where we start with the data. And then 2 year, and the 2 year is year datetime.localNow. That just means that it goes to exactly, in this case, to date in here, to, in this case, the end of the year of this current year. So if I click on Done, and if we take a closer look at the date itself, now we have actually a new starting date, 2021. And if I go in here, or let's actually check the year, it's simpler in here, and click on Load More, we would see that it ends in 2024. So the end of currently this year. And I can also show you that it goes to the end if we go to Keep Rows, and then say we just want to keep the bottom rows, and let's say the last 10 rows, then we should see actually December in 2024. So if I click OK, then you can see that now we have here up to the end of 2024. That's the data we have. So far so good. But sometimes in visuals you want not have the complete year or the current year, but you actually want only up to today's date. That could also be an option. If this is the case, then no worries, because you just have to go to the M script and do a small slight modification, which is actually already covered here. So you can see here the to date here is date.toYear, and then there's hard-coded 12 for December and 31 for the end of December. So if you just remove this part here and replace it with, which I already have here, but simply currently it's a comment, date.from and then datetime.localNow. So if we just choose this instead, so Control C, or let me just actually get everything from here, just put this here, and then just let's say here double slash, just that we have this as a comment, and we remove the double slash here and use this instead. Now we have datetime.from, datetime.localNow. This is now the date specifically, so it goes to today's date, which is then the last date in this calendar. And if I click on Done, you see that now the last 10 rows here, for instance, would be up to, in this case, the 2nd of February, which is today's date. So it's up to you whether you want to have it to the end of the current year or exactly to today's date. This could also be an option. And by the way, you could also add, for instance, a day, right? If you want to have it until tomorrow, for instance, that could also be possible. So that's it actually for creating this calendar in M. And let me just remove this capitalized rows. We don't need this because we want to have the full calendar. That was just an example to see that exactly what is the end date. So if I just say right click here, and let me just, in this case, right click here, and let me just rename it. This is our dynamic, in this case, dates TBL for table M. I'll just name it, but of course you should use a proper name for that. So if you decide to go with this way, then that's it actually, and then you can actually close it, or of course import additional tables, do your transformations, and then just load this into your data model, and then you can get started actually creating a report. So this is one option we have. The other option would be to do it in DAX. So that's also an option, and I've seen people doing it either in Powerquery in M, as you've seen right now, or also do it in a DAX. It's maybe a preference. There might be a few advantages, disadvantages, but it's really up to you later on. And for that, I also already created a DAX code for that. So if you do it the DAX way, here it is. That looks like that. And of course, I also provide this in the resource section, so you don't have to write it yourself. You can just copy paste it every time. And this goes, of course, for all your future Power BI reports. Okay, you can always use the same script, in this case, the same DAX formula. There's just adjust specific dates in here, and you're good to go. So let me just use this, Control-C to copy this. So we save a little bit of time, and then we go in here. And if we do it in DAX, be careful that if you go to the modeling tab here, just make sure that you choose new table, right? Because sometimes people get confused in this case, but it's not a measure. It is a table which we create because it's a dates table. So we need to create new table in here. And then we can just paste our code in here. And that's what it basically is. And you can see that there is a variable, which is the min year and the max year, which is currently here hard-coded. But this is something you can link dynamically to your specific data you have. So for that, we just say instead of a minimum 2022 and maximum 2023, we could say instead, let's comment this out, or actually I already did it in here. This is actually the form you need. So year, then minimum, and then specific facts table. So for me, it's the orders table. So what I could do instead here, remove the 2022 and say I want to have the minimum in this case. Oh, sorry, the year first, because we need to extract the year of the minimum, and then from my orders table, the order date. So orders. And then, of course, it depends what the date column you want to use in your table is actually called. But in my case, it's orders date. So I can refer to this one here. I can close this, I can close this, and I'm good to go. And I can do the same for the maximum. Again, it's in this case the year function again. Then we want this time the maximum in this case of our orders date. So from the orders table and specific the order date in here. We can close this in this case, and then we should be good to go. So make it a little bigger, hopefully you can see this, but here's just really the year of the minimum order date and the year of the maximum order date, in this case, or the facts table and the date column you have in your specific use case, and then you're good to go. And you can see that there are additional things, additional columns, which I currently comment out. So for instance, if you want to have a year in like this format, so you have 2024 and then February, so FEB for instance, then you just uncomment this and then you would have this as an additional column. It's up to you what columns you need actually later on in your dates table, but if you don't need them, just use / to comment the specific column out. Okay? And the same is true for these ones down there. They're also extensions, so additional columns. If you want to have, for instance, here the weekday and so on, you can implement this. Currently it's comment out, but if you want to remove this one, just remove this one and this one. Because this is a block comment, and they can specify exactly what kind of columns you want to keep. And as I said, if you want to only keep a few of them, if you want to uncomment a specific line, use a /. If you want to uncomment several lines together, use the / and then star and slash to close it. And yeah, that's actually it. So that's the second table. And if I click on checkbox here, then the table should also appear, as you can see here. The only difference now is this is calculated in the front end. That's why it has this little calculator icon, of course, also attached. And if I go to the table view here and take a look at my dates table, which is currently selected here, you can see that here is the dates table, and it also goes, in this case, from 2024 up to the end of 2023. And this is just because my orders date is exactly covering these 3 years, right? It's starting in 2021. In this case, it ends in 2023. That's why it covers exactly the data I have. And if, for instance, I would now get additional lines attached, for instance, I have now data for 2024, so new orders have been arrived, they were attached to this data when it was updated, then of course this would dynamically adjust and I would also see 2024 in my dates table. And this also makes it more dynamic, so I have a really flexible and I don't have to do any manual steps in here. Okay, so that's it for this video. Hopefully that was helpful. Again, it's up to you what kind of way you prefer. You can use the M script, you can use the DAX code. Both is attached to the lecture. Hopefully that is helpful. If you got questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, thanks a lot for watching and hopefully see you in the next video. Until then, best guys.